ARPA's easy.
Go through and spruce up, cut edges. And
Because we
fix
took
what's gotta
the
be done.
general assumption, and that's what they called it, that we lost $10 million. There's only, if I remember talking to Katie at the Association of Towns, or maybe it was Lori, I think it was Lori. I think there was only 3 municipalities in New York State that actually had a 10 million, could show a $10 million loss. But that's why I said it was a no-brainer to assume that, and then that allowed that funding to get out of that four-corner box. Because originally that ARPA money was for water infrastructure, sewer infrastructure, high-speed internet, or upgrades to your web and services. We can actually use, if you wanted to, you could, that $6,000 for the IT service, I think we could use ARPA on that. It's in the budget,
Yep.
but I mean, we could always actually use ARPA. And that way, that $6,000 would just roll back over. Like I said, the extra money rolls back over. That's how these unallocated funds mostly get picked up. So if you guys are good with that, and I know I just threw a lot at you.
We don't have to approve this right now, do we?
Well-
Because what you just
well-
said was you threw a lot at us. We got a meeting next week, right?
Yeah, but we're gonna have to
Plug it
add
in.
We're gonna have to plug it into those lines, and that's where Mary comes in to
So-
plug it into the lines.
I'm just a little confused when we were doing the 3,500 or 5,000 for the seniors.
Mm-hmm.
We were discussing that we wanted to not put too much in there, so we didn't want to go over our cap. And then we put all this stuff in, it's gonna blow our cap right out of the water,
Well,
right?
you're taking it, we're taking it.
I know that, but to the general public that reads it, they're gonna see that our taxes have been gone up what percent?
The taxes will not
Not
go
the
up.
taxes, but the
Tax
percent.
The cap.
Tax rate.
The budget
Budget.
will go up.
But that's on,
You can't change that number. That's why I said in order to spend this money, we were gonna go over the 2% tax cap. But that's why I wanted to get through that, the main part of the budget, to show that in good faith, we did not raise the 2% tax cap to go hog wild on this thing.
But how do we
But it
relay
shouldn't
that
really-
message to the general public?
It shouldn't really affect the tax rate anyways, because you're offsetting it with the unappropriated funds.
It still goes in your budget as
it needs-
extra money. Remember last year when we did the 50,000 and we asked
Yeah.
if we take it out of the
That's
unallocated fund
what I'm
reserve,
saying right now.
whether it still, when it was counted against us as the 2% cap?
Yeah.
And they said, yep, it don't matter where you get it from. If it's in your budget,
Yeah, so that's
it
why I
will-
don't do the tax cap.
Yeah. you know, that's why I knew this year that in order to spend
So we're gonna go
money-
way over the tax cap then?
You're gonna way over the tax cap, but it's not gonna affect.
But the tax.
No, I know
the
that,
tax
no,
increase-
but it's gonna look to the public like we're going
what I'm
hog
saying.
wild.
That's what we gotta put
The
out
only
there
thing
is,
the only thing they have to do, and I will pen a letter, and I will put it on explaining it to the best of my ability on the website. And all they have to do is look at what they paid for highway tax last year and what they're gonna pay for highway tax this year. What they paid for general tax last year and what they're gonna pay for general
Yeah.
tax this year. And they'll see an increase of maybe, you know, I don't know, Mike's might go up, what, 13, 14?
I think Mike's right now
Cents.
is 10 cents and the
10
town was
cents.
2 cents or so, but don't.
Yeah, no, I don't wanna hold you to it, but I'm just saying,
So-
they're gonna see that we stayed,
You know, a lot of people I've talked to, the way you explained it, say you exceed the tax cap by 20%.
Yep.
People expect they're gonna see a 20% tax increase.
no, they
But the
won't.
way Howard explains it, I understand it better.
Yeah.
It, you know, even though that you say we're gonna exceed it by 20%, we still may be under, the
You're
actual
gonna
raise
exceed
in
it by
taxes under
more than
2%.
20%.
Oh, yeah.
By the time we add 500.
And we didn't know that until today.
Well, I knew that, but
Probably-
I didn't know how it needed to be accomplished. That's why I told you at the meeting the other night, I heard 2 different ways that it could be done.
Yeah,
So that's why we talked to advisor today and found out, it put her mind at ease a lot on how it is handled. But it's like your home budget is the best way to explain it. If you are spending money out of your bank account, you don't have to work overtime to pay for what you wanna buy. You already have that money in there. So it's not gonna charge you more or make you work more. It's the same with this. We're spending money that's accumulated that is here. And
But
I
it has
don't
to
wanna
go-
keep your money as a taxpayer any more than what I need to give capital improvements to the town, or, and that back to the residents of the town, or what we need to operate the budget and give you the services that you are used to without cutting them. So all it's allowing us to do is spend the money out of the bank accounts, those unallocated fund reserves. And by doing so, it also shows to the comptroller's office that we're not just keeping $3 million of taxpayers'
Right.
money without any regard as to why we're doing it.
So do you think the actual tax increase will be 7.39%?
No, it's gonna be less than that.
You know, it's gonna be even less than that?
They're still caught up on your
Yep,
original here,
yep.
okay?
Yeah, the general, the front page.
'Cause if you
Yeah,
look,
We just need to be educated to be prepared, because we're gonna get bombarded.
Right.
Yeah.
That's- Nobody goes to the website, there's no
It
traffic
sounds like,
there,
it's-
you know?
if you look at
Right.
the general, it's
Right.
7.39%, but it's only 2 cents.
It's too what?
2
2
cents.
2 cents.
2 cents
But
per
it's
thousand.
7 point, but
Yeah,
if you look at the rate, it's 7.3.
That's what I
It sounds
say.
like a lot,
Okay.
but it's 2
Reggie's the
cents.
same way. He gets caught up with those percentages.
Yeah.
But you have to look at the dollar
what
amounts
general public-
that are attached to those percentages. You know what I'm saying?
Depending on how it's
because
advertised.
it's because everything down here is at a minimum. That any increase to it is a percentage change,
Yeah.
and you can play that percentage game if you want. But
Should
what
go away.
I'm trying to do is
Yeah.
benefit the residents of the town. They should be getting something out of, like I said, they have to deal with Casella. We get $500,000 a year out of it. This year, we gave a tax break to every resident in the town of $210,000 out of the unallocated fund reserve. They used to give $498,000 or over that before I got here. But then you never get to do anything with your town. So over the last 3 years, that unallocated fund reserve went from like 998,000 to what it is today. You still haven't seen it. Matter of fact, you've seen a decrease in your general tax last year alone because of the 50,000 we gave to him. If we added it to the highway, we had to take it somewhere else because we couldn't go over the 2% without having a local law to do that.
You
We
get a
didn't
message to,
really-
to the people of Schuyler Falls, they have a $3 million tax surplus and you have to spend that money. Is that
It-
essentially what it is?
It is and it is. It's not, I don't want to use the word surplus, okay? Because this money is set aside for emergency use and or capital improvements, okay? And that's the way that it should hopefully continue to go in this town. That way you can, every year or two, you can take money out of those unallocated fund reserves
Sure.
and you can upgrade the equipment to the highway.
Yeah, I
Or
understand
you
how it
can
works, but it's still a
upgrade-
surplus. He still took in more money than
Yeah.
what was needed to run the town for the
And-
taxpayer, so it's
and-
surplus.
And like I said, you're right. It's based upon our overall budget. We could take 498,000 and offset your highway and general fund with it. But you're never gonna see anything done in the town, other than have a lower tax rate than you already got, and we're the second lowest tax rate in town, and by a lot. Tell me another town other than the one he's gonna throw out.
Town of
that I
Clinton's the
told
only
him.
one that has a lot of
Clinton,
tax
right?
rate enough,
That their windmills, they use
to offset their budget.
all of it to
Correct.
offset their budget,
Correct.
okay? And I don't feel as a town supervisor that's the right way to do it. I think it should be fair. I think that there should be some give back to the residents because of what they have to put up with. But I also feel that as a town, that we need to move forward and give those type of things to the town.
So what is the average taxpayer gonna pay with this budget extra per 1,000 altogether?
2
Well-
cents
The general fund right now is 2 cents,
per thousand.
but I haven't plugged in all.
So
the
really,
figures.
what people see when they get their tax bill is what matters. The political propaganda or whatever false information gets spread out there.
Yep.
That's on them. Not
That's
to
on them.
educate themselves.
But if they look at last year's tax rate at the general fund and the highway, and they look at this year's general fund tax and the highway tax, if it's above what we think it's going to be, and we won't know until we put the numbers in, until we give the preliminary budget. When we give the preliminary budget, that is hard and fast. We won't change it from there. But we will look at that to make sure that we're.
So you're telling me that somebody's paying an extra $20 on $100,000 for that current increase? Am I mishearing that? 2 cents a thousand, that's $20 on
For
100,000
general,
for general.
highway right now, I think is 10.
$2 more.
I think it went up 10 cents.
I mean, that's really that's what most people are gonna wanna know. If I'm paying,
Yep.
you know, $2,000 a year in taxes now, what am I paying next year? Is it a sizable increase?
2 cents?
No, I mean, well, someone's gonna pay total increase in their property taxes next year for the town of Schuyler Falls.
I haven't finished, she hasn't finished putting in what we just discussed tonight with the salary increases.
And then I can't finish until you guys decide on the other items.
Well, we can plug everything up into that one job.
Yeah,
So I would suggest that we do it and find out what it is with the salary it's at right now, because this board wants to reduce it, so it's only gonna go down from
yeah,
there.
I'll have new sheets.
And that's only gonna affect the general, it won't, nothing
Nothing.
is changing on the highway. So the highway one will be pretty much what the preliminary budget is for the highway, no matter what, after tonight. Unless you guys decide to change something else. I don't know if that answers your questions or.
Yeah, I got a lot better understanding of it now, yeah.
And there's nothing saying that you can't take more than 210,000 to lower the budget.
No. No, it's still gonna change.
Even with all the money you're
I don't
putting
give
into
a, I don't
the, we
give
had
a
a big
shit
talk
if
today
we put,
about
we had
this.
300,000 to it and moved the general tax from 32 cents down to 28 cents or whatever. But you're still gonna go over the 2% tax cap because you're pumping that kind of money into your budget from the previous year. And was there 3 or 4 numbers? I think I know there was at least 3, and I'd have to go over last year's paperwork when we did it, but there was 3 numbers they punched. The auditor down here that we use,
They have one back there.
that punches them into the comptroller's website, and then that gives you whether you're under or over the 2%.
So when Mike gets a new tractor, you'll be paying cash for it.
With what he's got.
Yeah,
That's the whole thing. This is the whole premise of this.
yeah, I like that.
Is that it's the same thing that we do they do it in the fire department, but they have a capital reserve account. In the capital reserve account, we could set up cap reserves over here too. There's a lot of work to setting them up. And you don't want to set them up so that they're in a box. You know what I'm saying? You want to set them up general, or you're not
specific
you
type.
won't be able to use the money for what you want to use it for if you didn't foresee that. So like the fire station, then I'm going to overgeneralize it, but basically it says for improvements to the building, right? Or equipment purchases. Well, equipment purchase could be 5 sets of gear, or it could be a new fire truck. You know what I'm saying? So you want to keep those terms general if that gives you the most latitude to use that cap reserve money for whatever may pop up. But in this case, we have to put it in a line item because we do not have a separate capital improvement project line. And that's something that would be a lot of work to set up. We can do it. You can set up 15 of them. And you can set them up for individual purpose. But it's just as easy to do this and put it under the line item in the budget. Then that way it shows the taxpayer exactly what you're spending the money on and what the project is.
It doesn't.
What are we doing for a
It
So
little?
if I
doesn't do
understand
anything to
correctly,
your
in the last
budget.
2 years, then what you're saying is that we've had the second lowest property tax
Mhm.
in the county, and we've still managed to add $2 million to that fund. So that should be,
Yeah, that's some
something
pretty
else.
good supervising, don't you think?
Well,
Yeah. Good plan
You
yourself.
guys
Don't put me on the spot, I'm not
You
saying.
guys remember COVID was out there and we weren't able to
Yeah, we
spend
weren't
a lot.
able to, we didn't go
Yes, it
anywhere. We didn't get raises one year.
No.
Okay, but for clarification here, there was a misstatement. If I'm not mistaken, at 2 cents a thousand increase, that's $2 per $100,000.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too, not too
Oh,
much.
$2, okay.
$2, not
Okay.
20. That
Okay.
makes a big difference out there too. So
Yeah.
you take somebody's got
Actually, you
got a
say 200, but
you got
yeah.
a $400,000 home, it's going to be an $8 increase to cover
And
everything.
then your highway too. on top.
Then
And then
highway to-
whatever the highway
general
is.
fund, yeah.
And highway would only be $10 on 100,000 is what you're saying. And if it's
10 or 12 cents, it depends on, let us run the numbers before we go on the record and tell you what they
Yeah,
are, because
sure.
until we punch them in, but you're, yeah, relatively speaking, $10, $12 more a year
in taxes.
on your taxes.
I gotta go.
Yep.
See you guys.
Hey, Kevin, and you and I had this talk today, and we said as a budget as it was presented, only had increases in salaries and cost of living raises.
Or,
The board was not doing anything to better the town. With all this, I mean, if it's presented right to the public,
Well, that should be
You're-
very
you're
easy to
doing
message to
something.
people. That should be very easy.
you're not
to
at a
message.
stalemate.
it's their money
It should
that
be
we're
very easy to
holding.
message people that
And,
you have the second lowest tax rate in the county and you've added $2 million. It should be
and,
an accomplishment that's.
and now we're gonna get you all this stuff with that
Correct.
money. And on the back flip side of that, we could end up like they did a few years back, where the comptroller's office audited us and said, okay, how come you have 1.7 million in the highway fund and what are you doing with it? And why do you have 3 point something million in your general fund and what are you doing with it? And
It's not allocated.
they didn't have an answer, so the comptroller fined them, the town, which fined all the residents,
Sure.
and said, you will now give that money back.
Tax.
So what they did was they took the money and they offset your tax rate.
Taxes.
And you had like nothing,
No taxes, yeah.
no taxes until it ran out.
Right.
That's, any comptroller's class I've been to out of the 6 told me, when you have money like that, this is what you do. You never, ever take that money until it's gone. Because at that point, you're gonna have the same thing Rick Potiker had on the Press Republican, because he happened to be the poor supervisor that was in at that time. Not that he had prior years any change. That 800% increase to the town of Scholar Falls taxes, mismanagement at the town board level.
Sure.
All right.
And 2 out of 3 board members are saying we gotta change that, and they never did prior to.
Yeah, and I'm not busting Howard any of it.
No.
I'm just, the hardcore facts are the hardcore facts, and
You're right.
I want to make sure we're doing it the right way.
This is the right one.
Good job.
Okay, and that was just as long as last night, Donna, I apologize.
I ate this morning before I came. I'm okay.
And we're still not done on it. One issue that.
I did send it to the Press Republican already tonight.
Okay,
so.
thank you.
Have a good night.
Yeah, thanks everybody for
We're
coming
done?
down, I appreciate it.
Thank you.